Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics. And as America tries to take stock of the events of earlier this week at Capitol Hill, and Donald Trump seems to have been partially brought to heel by making his public statement of condemnation of the action he encouraged. It's worth bearing in mind, I saw someone comment that Donald Trump thought that not conceding was giving him leverage, whereas now his action may well mean that he spends even less time as president than ordinarily he would have done. But what I would like to discuss is an interesting notion from someone that was passed around social media by someone, an American who has experience in US intelligence, about what could be done to deal with the people directly involved, as well as potentially root out the rot. But my question would be, will it be actioned and will it work? But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news in politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So before I start, I have to say, there's a hot take on this. I absolutely loved this one on the Capitol Hill coup. If indeed that is what, was in what passes for the minds of the thugs who carried it out. Did they really believe that they were starting a revolution? I don't know. But anyway, so someone on Twitter was posting a picture of their son who was at the putsch. Actually, that's a better word for it, isn't it? Putsch. It was definitely that. So proud they were. Oh, that's my son. He's there. Trashing American democracy, isn't it fantastic? And then there was a tweet from them saying that the FBI were contacting them, and then their profile was no more. And it's sort of a bit of a journey that I would like, in a very literal sense, not on social media, all of these people to follow. But on a more serious and practical note, there are sort of questions for those who understand the need for this disgraceful event to never be repeated again, and that people need to be called to account for that to happen. We need to know what's going to happen to every single person that was directly involved in this. What is going to happen to those who allowed this to happen, who were charged with the defence of America and allowed this to happen when they knew it was going to happen. And third, what is going to be done about those who were encouraging it from the shadows? And so we're not just talking about the few dumb people who are silly enough to allow themselves to be identified, which is probably basically everyone who broke into the building. They weren't exactly camera shy, were they? We're at a time now where it's socially acceptable in public to wear a mask. You would think if you were going to carry something like this out, how many times do you see these sorts of people in an aggressive actual protest hiding their identity with masks? Now you're actually allowed to wear masks, guys, and you weren't doing it. What the hell? What the hell? And I couldn't get it. But there was various notable people there. There was a guy who people noted was wearing his work lanyard still. This did him no favours at all, because he was happy to be photographed multiple times. One time next to Captain Caveman. I'm not sure what's happened to him yet. Of course, he no longer has his job. And I gather the same is true of several others who were identified as well. But it's clear that there were others involved. Those who... it's a bit like those who groom people to carry out terrible acts, extreme acts. But they don't get involved themselves. They stay in the shadows. And there will have been people involved there that have kept themselves out of it. Some of them may even be very prominent politicians. They may even be members of Congress. They may even be senators who were present at the time. And what can Uncle Sam really do to re-exert authority and root out this rot against this sort of sedition? And there was an interesting idea. Now, I'm not a legal expert in any country, much less the United States. I don't know whether this is valid or not. I'll post a link below. You can read it yourself and maybe read into it. But this is what they were suggesting you would do to deal with it. Now, they suggest the fact that all of these goons seem to have mobile phones would help a great deal. Identify every single phone that was operating in the Capitol building at the time Exclude those who had business there, plenty of people that were in there legitimately, and what you have are the trespassers. And then they noted, so it's not as simple as getting a mass warrant to grab every phone that was active in the building at the time. Of course, that could impinge on constitutional rights. No need for that either, he said. It's much simpler than this. He suggests just getting the information on all the phones operational at the time, as I say, filtering out those who were supposed to be there, and then you could obtain a warrant for the remainder of the phones. The PIN register data would also show you who they were communicating with. And that would mean that anyone that was in communication with those trespassers at the time could potentially have been involved in the sedition. At which point, that's not proof, but at that point they then become a legitimate target of an investigation, because it's an extremely serious crime, this, and it is worth a full investigation. So then you seize all digital devices that these people own in order to search them for evidence of sedition. That way, you not only get all of the people who broke into the Capitol building, which is the very least that needs to happen, but also everyone who was directly in communication with them as a potential co-conspirator, which could include prominent politicians, including, as I say, members of Congress. And what do you do about members of Congress? I mean, aren't they going to basically be protected because you try and impeach them, but at the end of the day, 2/3 majority needed to vote it through and the Republicans will just block it all? Well, this person refers to Section 3 of the 14th Amendment of the United States Constitution, which would suggest that if anyone is in such a position, they're a member of Congress, and they are engaged in insurrection or rebellion, or even giving, in the words of the statement, aid or comfort to anyone who is, will not be allowed to hold that office. So that would mean we're not talking about some sort of impeachment. If convicted, you just lose your position. You're gone. Forget it. Or if someone that they were giving comfort to is convicted, you're gone. In this way, you could potentially get absolutely not only everyone who was there, but everyone who helped them or even gave comfort to them, encouraged them. I mean, it would be surprising if Trump and his family themselves weren't caught in this particular net, but you could argue there are easier ways to prove their guilt on this. Now, like I said, I've got no idea if this guy really knows what they're talking about with this. Even if he does, is he right? I don't know. It's all a little unprecedented. If he is right and it could work and can bypass any blocking by Republicans in any branch of government, including the Supreme Court, then the next question, of course, is, will it be done? Because for all of Biden's very obvious and genuine, as far as I could tell, anger at these events, I've not heard him explain exactly what he will do about it. I've heard him say what Trump should have done about it at the time, but not what he will do when he takes over executive power. Now, this may be deliberate. It may be that he's just allowing the FBI to get on with their work. We'll find out in 2 weeks' time. But I will be looking for rather more than just a handful of prison sentences for the grunts, if those goading them into action were largely getting away with it. I mean, the other thing to bear in mind of the people who did break in, some of them may have been off-duty police officers, serving police officers. Some of them may have been serving members of the United States military. That's why at the very least it is absolutely vital that all of those people are caught. But as I say, then there's the others, like that senator who raised his fist up to the mob in support as he entered the Capitol building. Don't know his name. I've seen it bandied about a little bit. Apparently he's a bit upset at the moment. Is he the one who's a bit upset because someone won't publish his book? Can't be asked to look up his name. Doesn't matter, because what he needs to be identified for in future is by a number, not a name. But finally, just a last little point. One of them did karma themselves some rough justice at the end. Now, I'm not going to, I've got no satisfaction in any of these bellends who lost their lives as a result of the attack. A small number of them did. I don't feel sorry for them. I don't welcome it either. I wanted them to face a more civilised form of justice. I feel sorry for those who lost their lives innocently, like the police officer, for example, who seemed to be one of the few actually trying to do his duty. And I feel sorry for the innocent friends and family who are going to be mourning, those who are guilty and died. But one of them was apparently killed because he was trying to steal a painting in the building and accidentally tasered himself in the balls and suffered a cardiac arrest. I defy you not to laugh. Don't pretend you didn't laugh. Sometimes tragedy is also funny. It's cruel, but it is. I mean, imagine that, you know, at this person's funeral, someone's going to have to say at that event, they're going to have to get onto the bit about explaining how they died. You know, what are they going to say? Oh, he zapped himself in the bollocks whilst trying to steal American public property of immense cultural and historic value to the American people, whilst engaging in an armed attack on the heart of United States democracy. Yeah. But by and large, what I want to see is civilised consequences for their actions. Lock them up, de-radicalise them if you can, but don't let them boast about their exploits. I tell you what I really desperately do not want to see. I do not want to see people getting a meal ticket out of this. People living for the rest of their lives making money off the fact that they did this. They need to pay, not profit. That is absolutely vital. But those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. I hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, please also click the Patreon link for details. And until next time, I'll see you later.